I would accept as guilt. From you.
That's why he's reframing it.
The challenge is how to cross the street without being in your mind hazarding the shear. Pay attention to the cars.
That's why he gave this metaphor that when you go out to the street, you should look at the cars, especially in this parking lot.
Okay, no problem. It's nice to be here.
Also, is it possible that when we talk about learning, that he's not talking necessarily about sitting in the smada with a book, but it's seeing the mashalim in life, connecting it to the Torah, and that's the connection that we're talking about.
That's very nice what you're saying.
Because in the Shulchan Aruch Rabbi also says it very strongly, you have to learn every second.
Yeah.
I remember when I saw that, I was like...
You learned Hilchos Talmud
I
Torah?
went home and I said, this...
What did you say before?
You have to learn it with me.
I see.
What did you say?
I was saying,
You have to know how these people looked at Torah. You know what I mean? You have to recalibrate the neural pathways in your brain, because if not, you don't.
What did you say?
What's the most enjoyable thing in your life? Mamish, you just love it.
Do I have to say?
No, I was going to say, don't say.
But think what it is, okay? Yeah? I don't mean if something is destructive, I'm not talking about that, but something that's productive, even if it's not very
Wholesome.
but something that, it promotes ultimately a better life, etc. Mamish, the most enjoyable thing in your life. And when he writes about Torah, that's real. You have to have that language in the mindset. That's how he looked at it. It's like somebody telling you, Moshe, I want to help you set up your life and your job in a way that thing you could spend most of the day doing. You get it? I would really like to help you set up your life.
Doing the most pleasurable thing.
That's what I would love. I really want. There's a book called the 4 hour a week work, right? Work 4 hours a week, make your money, and meditate in the forest. I'm saying that concept. You're not going to say, "Oh, this guy wants to take me away from work." He doesn't want to take you away from work. I'm just saying you have to have certain modes, understanding, in the background before you read all this information. Because if not, it's like it gets very stressful. It's anxiety.
Who doesn't not
but then you'll see it differently. That's it. Can I trouble you for the Sfarim over there? The Gemara over there. Oh, it's so light. It's locked? Okay.
Seems like a future. Yeah. Seems like a future.
Because he's talking Gan Eden. In Gan Eden, it's the reality, but that reality is going to get revealed in Gan Eden. Verstehst? That reality is experienced in Gan Eden.
But it's not as it happens.
It's as it happens, but in this world you don't see everything. In this world you don't see everything. Okay, we're up to Daf Yud Beis, Amud Beis, Masechta Megillah, close to the bottom of the page, the first line of the wide lines. V'yafked hamelech pkidim, mamash all the way close to the bottom, the first line of the wide lines, Yud Beis, Amud Beis, you see? So, where are we holding in the story? Vashti was eliminated. By the way, it's interesting to know the Megillah doesn't say that Vashti was killed, The Megillah says that Achashverosh asked what should be done with Vashti. And as the Gemara says, he asked the Chachamim, the sages, they refused to answer. So then he asked his 7 advisors. And Memuchan said that this was a sin against all men in the entire empire of Persia. and it's going to be a disaster, and therefore, what was the verdict? The verdict was that she should be removed from the throne, and the throne should be given to another lady, to another queen. It doesn't say clearly that she should be killed. I'm just saying it's very interesting in the Megillah, because there are those Mefarshim who want to say that she wasn't killed. She was just demoted. She was just sent away. A few places Chazal say that she was killed, but in the Megillah it clearly doesn't say that she was killed. It's very interesting. It just says he said she should. The lashon is malchusa yitin liruusa atayva mimena. Give the malchus to somebody who's better, not to her, and that was the advice. She shouldn't come before the king. The malchus should be given away, and all the women will start respecting their husbands the way they're supposed to. And the melech did what Memuchan said, but that's it. Chazal did say Vashti was killed. In a few places it says in Gemara and Medrash, but in the Megillah it doesn't say. So I saw one of the Mefarshim, I think the Yaakov says she wasn't killed. She was just said, go, leave, which is very interesting. I saw the Chassam Sofer writes, based on a Gemara that we'll soon learn, he said that the pain that Vashti had from seeing this, she killed herself. That's what he wants to say. That's how he reconciles the two. Or she died from heartache. She was the queen of the Persian Empire. She was a grandchild of the Babylonian emperor. To be a simple peasant didn't work, so she,
Just he killed, and he always killed.
I'm saying because the Megillah doesn't say that she, which is interesting, doesn't say that she was killed.
Doesn't say that when he saw it up, he regretted it.
Later he regretted it.
Why didn't he take her back then? That would be a proof that she wasn't around.
Right. Right. That's why it seems he regretted it and what she did and what was decreed upon her. They also doesn't say he was killed. So it could be the decree was that he can't take her back.
That he regretted the Megillah?
No, the Megillah says that he remembered what he did, and it seemed like, it doesn't say clearly he was depressed, but Rashi says he was depressed. It says he remembered, in other words, and he needed a new queen. So it could be she died, she was killed, could be she killed herself, could be she died from heartache, or could be the decree was he can't take her back. And that was the decree. But Astam, I'm just saying, the Chazal say she died, or she was killed. I'm just saying it doesn't say it in the Megillah. I just thought it's very interesting. I want to leave you with a question I'm not going to address today. I just want you to think about it. Why couldn't Vashti send a message back to Achashverosh? You know, I got this funny tail, and or I'm a leper. I have a real serious skin disease, or I have this huge pimple. It's going to be very embarrassing. Huh?
He was drunk.
No.
She was angry.
Huh?
She was angry.
She was angry at him? But why? He wanted she should show off naked and please her. So just write back to him. So the Gemara says, why didn't she come? It's not like she was a moral, holy woman. Why didn't she come? She didn't come because she had this tsaras. She had this disgusting, she had this thing that she was very embarrassed by. Okay. So,
Good excuse. It's
ah?
a good excuse not to come.
And no, the Gemara says that's why she didn't come. Because if she was a modest woman, I understand why she didn't come. But she was not a modest woman. She undressed the Jewish women on Shabbos. So the Gemara says she didn't come. Why? Because she got either this leprosy, the skin disease, or because the zanov, whether we say it was a tail, or was a pimple, or was a wart, or was some appendage to the body, some growth on the body. So just tell her. Tell him. Not only does she not tell him, she insults him, right, that he belongs in a stable with horses and he doesn't know how to drink. What was going on here? Something happened here. Obviously, she didn't want to explain herself, because she could have explained herself very nicely. She could have written a note. She could have...
Well, you want to deal with drunk people.
Huh?
The second answer, she's
But the second, her answer he did understand, even though he was drunk.
Someone better.
So something in Vashti was triggered here that she went crazy at him.
You say fear overtakes drunkenness.
Huh?
You say fear over, so maybe so embarrassed.
I also saw last night, I saw the Vilna Gaon writes, it says, the Gemara asks, Amai Dolkabe, why was he so angry at her? Right? So you said, why not? She didn't listen to him. You don't listen to a king. He gets angry, especially in front of everybody. Right? The Melech said, bring Vashti. You know, there was a public message, so you embarrassed me in public, you don't listen to me. So the Vilna Gaon writes, it says, Vayiktzef hamelech ma'oid, v'chamasei bar aboy. Ketzef, the word ketzef is outer rage. In Tanakh, ketzef is like what comes up on the water, what's it called? On the water you see it. Foam. Foam on the water is called ketzef. So that's the foam, you're foaming. V'chamasei bar aboy, chema is inner rage. The klal, he says, is when a person, Vilna Gaon writes this, when a person is angry and you speak about it, it calms you down. You let it out. It says, Vayiktzef hamelech ma'oid, the king was foaming, and then v'chamasei bar aboy, it should have been the other way around. The more you foam, the more you express anger, right? You release it. You're angry, you're screaming, you're hollering, and then you could take your cigarette. He says here, Vayiktzef hamelech ma'oid v'chamasei bar aboy is burning inside of him. It should be the other way around. It calms it down. So he said from here the Gemara proves that there was something he couldn't talk about. Vayiktzef hamelech ma'oid, that she didn't listen to him, she wasn't coming. But v'chamasei bar aboy, what she told him, that he's an idiot and that he worked for horses, this he didn't share. This he couldn't say to anybody because it was too insulting. She sent a message. She says, this was v'chamasei bar. That's what the Gemara says, amai dolka be'kolahai. Why was he burning inside? This he couldn't express. So there were two separate angers. There was the anger for disobeying, and then there was the inner rage for the inside. And he couldn't share this with anybody, even not with his therapist, because it was too insulting that his wife thinks he belongs with the horses and that her father could drink more than 1,000 people and retain his alcohol, and this guy drinks and he sounds like a fool. I thought it was a very interesting interpretation by the Gaon. Okay. Something triggered Vashti. I think it's interesting to figure out what that was. Who's the man?
Who's the man?
Apparently, their marriage wasn't the best marriage. This is my theory. Their marriage was not, of course, right? Their marriage was not the best marriage. And in a very, very profound way, there was a deep argument, like who's really, she was an heir of Nebuchadnezzar. He's a stable guy, he belongs in the horse. And I think at this moment, it really emerged. She didn't want to tell him that she has a tsaras and a zonov. It was not the issue. She wanted to put him in his place. Did she think she's going to get killed? Probably not. She was overly confident, maybe. Or she was so beautiful, and she thought, he won't be able to live without her, which he couldn't. So maybe this was her own miscalculation.
She got this leprosy because she had this tsaras, so she wanted to make herself more important. So she said, who are you? I'm more...
Maybe, she felt so bad about this leprosy, she needed some self-aggrandizement.
That's right, she comes from such a... nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a beautiful interpretation from the Vilna Gaon also in the Megillah in chapter 1, which says Hamalka Vashti Hamalka. We'll discuss it later. Okay. Says the Gemara Vaite V'yafked Hamelech Pkidim B'chol Medinas Malchusay. What happens now? Chapter 2 of the Megillah. We finished chapter 1. Vashti is gone. Chapter 2 is the king calms down. He remembers Vashti. His servants tell him V'yafked Hamelech Pkidim B'chol Medinas Malchusay. V'yikbetzu eskol nara psula toivas mara el shushan habira el beis hanoshim el yad hege sris hamelech shemer hanoshim v'nosin tamrukayim. Basically, they want the king to appoint ministers, governors, people in charge, and make a search warrant, and look and gather every young woman, naira psula, meaning every young virgin, who looks good to Shushan Habira, to the king, to a man named Haga. He will be in charge. She will be given perfume, and the king will choose the one he wants. Now, you understand what's happening now, right? You get this picture? This is chapter 2 of the Megillah, what's going on. So the Gemara obviously has a lot to say on Achashverosh now for doing this. Says the Gemara, V'yafked HaMelech Pkidim, let the king appoint officers, Amarav. My diksiv, there's a pasuk in Mishlei that describes this best. And the pasuk says as follows: Kol arum yasa bedas uksil yifre shivelas. Every wise person, a prudent person, acts with perception, but a fool spreads out his stupidity. Mishlei chapter 13. Yifresh ivelas means he spreads out his stupidity, meaning everybody has to see it. Kol arum yasa bedas. Who are we talking about? Zed David. This is a metaphor, it's a parable for David. David also needed a wife. The pasuk says, this is the beginning of Malachim Aleph, Kings 1, right? Vayomru lo yavadav. David was already an older man, he was hitting 70, and he was cold, no garments could warm him up. You remember the story? Vayomru lo yavadav, yivakshu ladonei hamelech naira psula. His servants say, let them seek from my master, the king, a young maiden, a young woman to be able to attend to him. So Kolman the Havale Brata Aisiniela, whoever had a daughter, brought her to him. Everybody would have loved their daughter to be chosen by the king, by David HaMelech. They said, let's search for somebody, and everyone who had a daughter brought her to David HaMelech. It was great. That's David. Uksil Yifre Shivela Ze Achashverosh. The fool who spreads out his folly, this is Achashverosh. The Ksiv V'yavkid HaMelech P'kidim. They say, let the king appoint officers and gather all the women from the kingdom. So basically, everybody realized that what's Achashverosh going to do? He wants every single girl, every single young virgin to come to the palace to be with him. Everybody is going to be with him physically, and then he's going to choose one. So whoever had a daughter hid his daughter from Achashverosh. This was the difference between the two approaches. Even that's what he says. Rashi puts it. Rashi says, you see the third to the last Rashi, Nara, David loy bikesh ela nara achas. David wanted one Nara, one young woman. So kol adam hera l'shluchav es bita ulai titav be'enav. So every person showed off his daughter. Oh, look at my daughter. Maybe this daughter, the shliach of David, is going to say, oh, this is good. Achashverosh is ksil. Achashverosh was an idiot. He was a fool. Tziva lekabet es kulon. He said, I don't want one. I want everybody. Everybody knows he's not going to marry 1,000 queens, he's going to marry one. But veskulan yival. But he's going to have relationships with everybody. Manda havale bratim etamne. If you have a daughter, you're like, I'm not doing this. Every girl is going to be there, and she's going to be part of a context. She's going to have to be there with the king, right? And lose her youthfulness, obviously, and then be sent home. You know, it's like a lottery ticket. And maybe this daughter. With David HaMelech, was an opposite approach, which of course represents two different ways of living, which the Gemara, I assumes we can understand on our own. The story continues. They're now looking for a queen, and suddenly the Megillah intersects with a new story. There was a Yehudi, there was a man named not a man who's a Yehudi, a Jew, and he lives in Shushan Habira, and his name is Mordechai, the son of Yair, the son of Shimi, the son of Kish, Ish Yemini. Yemini is usually the name for the tribe of Benjamin, right? Ben Yamin, right? Ben Yamin, that was Yaakov's name for his son Binyamin. So Yemini is from the Yemini from Binyamin. First of all, Micah Omar, why is he giving me the genealogy of this Mordechai? If he just wants, I should know the whole family history. Then go back to Binyamin. Go Yair, Shimi, Kish, and then go back all the way. You're not doing it all the way to Binyamin. Ela Maishnahani. So you want me to know these fathers? I mean, if you want to go back all the way, you want the father, I understand. Yair, Ben Shimi, Ben Kish, then you stop. Go the Elta say the Elta. You want to go back to Binyamin. Ish Yemini, so go back to Binyamin. You're not doing that. Not only that, but there's also something off here. Because Shimi was not the son of Kish. Shimi was the son of Gera. There was the famous Shimi ben Gera when David HaMelech was running away from his son Avshalom, who rebelled against him. And Shimi ben Gera came to meet him, and Shimi ben Gera cursed and insulted and harassed David HaMelech. His name was not Shimi ben Kish. His name was Shimi ben Gera. So really, we're skipping. We're going Shimi ben Kish. We're not doing even the generations in a full genealogy. Why are you skipping some of the fathers? So the Gemara says, Tana, we have a brayse, kulan al shmai nikru. These names are not just geological names of father ancestry. Rather, all these names are describing Mordechai. In other words, Yair, Shimi, Kish. When you say Mordechai, Ben Yair, Ben Shimi, Kish, it's not just biologically, it's also spiritually. For example, you'll say somebody is a Ben Chayrin, a son of freedom. Doesn't mean his father's name was freedom. It means he is a free man. You say somebody is a Ben Torah. It doesn't mean his father is Torah. It means it's a description of yourself, right? Ben Chayrin means you're a child of freedom, you are a free person. Ben Yair, Ben Shimi, Ben Kish are descriptions of Mordechai himself. Yair, Ben Sheheir, Einayim Shel Yisrael B'Tfilaseh. He was a child who illuminated the eyes of the Jewish people through his prayer. So Yair comes from the word Oir. He brightened, he lit up, he radiated. He brought light, Oir, Lichtigkeit, to the Jewish people. Ben Shimi. La Yehudim Haisa Oira, very good. Ben Yair. Ben Shimi, Ben Sheshama El Tfilasai. He is the child who God heard his prayer. Ben Kish, Shehikish al Shari Rachamim V'niftechuloi. Ben Kish's, he knocked on the gates of compassion, begging that the Jews be saved, and they were opened for him. So he illuminated their eyes through his tefillah. Shimi, God listened to his tefillah, Shemea tefillah, and he managed Hikish. Kish is pounded. He knocked. Hikish is knocked. He knocked on the doors, and the doors were opened for him. They did not remain sealed and stuck. I saw that the Shem Shmuel asks, he says the order should have been a little different. The order should have been Kish, Shimi, and Yair. First you knock on the doors, right? Then you daven. And then you're successful. You light up the eyes, right? So he says that the Gemara is actually indicating something different. And that is the beginning of the salvation happens when you become aware of the problem. He says the greatest problem is that a person is not aware of their problem. That's the greatest challenge. The greatest challenge is you become insensitive to your problem. You'll forgive my mashalom again, but we're talking about mashalom this whole morning. The problem of the addict is not that he's an addict, is that he becomes accustomed to it. He's not aware of how sick he is. He's not aware of how dysfunctional he is. When somebody sometimes is in a miserable marriage or in a miserable situation in life, that's not the problem. The problem is you make peace with it. Battered woman syndrome, Stockholm syndrome, you make peace with it. You're like, this is reality. That's the problem. He says, Heir Einayim Shel Yisrael. He opened their eyes to see the seriousness of the problem. Then you'll bang doors. Then you'll already accomplish everything else. The Heir here is not the end of the game. It's the beginning of the game. You can open your eyes and say, OMG. And then everything changes. I thought it was a beautiful insight. The Shem Shmuel, Rabbi Shmuel of Sachachav. I think the Shem Shmuel. I saw it somewhere. Sounds like the Shem Shmuel, huh?
Say in medicine that if you know what the problem is, you have to cure.
Yes, Yedias Hamachala Chatzi Trupa, right?
They say in war, the enemy is 90% of the winning the war.
Exactly. Exactly. Ah?
The enemy in the war.
Yeah. Frag the Gemara, Karila Yehudi, Alma Yehuda Kas. You call him Yehudi, which means he comes from Yehuda. Yehudi is Yehuda, the tribe of Judah. The Karila Yemini, Alma Binyamin Kasi. But then you call him Yemini, which is basically the concept of Binyamin. So we have a problem. Did Mordechai come from Shevet Yehuda, or did Mordechai come from Shevet bin Yamin? That's the problem here. And this is a very interesting question.
Yehudi means Yehuda or a Jew?
Oh, you say Yehudi means a Jew, because in retrospect, when you said Yehudi, now you have to remember something. This is the first time the word Yehudi is used in the Tanakh. You know that. Yeah. You will not find anywhere Yehudi till Megillas Esther. First time ever. And remember, this is Ivri, Hebrew, Bnei Yisrael, of course, Yaakov, Yisrael, Israel, Yisrael, different Shvatim, Bnei Yehuda, but not Jews as Yehudi. The first time we're called Yehudim is at this point. And that's a fascinating reality.
Friedrich Rebbe speaks in Persia about the Ivrim and Yehud.
Ivrim versus Yehudim. Yeah. Yeah. So what's the reason for this? So the interesting thing is, says the Gemara, Amar Reb Nachman says, Mordechai muchta b'nimusei haisa. Mordechai was crowned with many names. He was crowned with his names, meaning the honorable names of both his father and his mother's tribes were both part of his title. What do we mean? So he says, Amar Rabbi Chan, Amar Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Aviv mi Binyamin v'imi mi Yehuda. His father came from the tribe of Binyamin. His mother was from the tribe of Yehuda. So therefore, even though usually we don't mention the mother's tribe because the tribe follows the father, if you're Jewish or not depends on your mother. But which Shevet you're from, right? If you're a Kohen or a Levi, for example, doesn't depend on the mother, it depends on the father. Nonetheless, in this case, the Megillah wants to honor Mordechai and says both Ish Yehudi, mentioning his mami, who came from Yehuda, and then Ish Yemini, which is his father. So that's Muchter b'nimusay haisa. He was crowned with nimusim, with his names. That's the first answer. Rabbanan Amri, the rabbi said, Mishpachis mizgari zubizu. The families of Yehuda and Binyamin were actually quarreling with each other. Each one was taking credit. Why? Mishpachas Yehuda Imeris, I'm not garim the Mesalad Mordechai. Family of Yehuda says, I caused Mordechai to be born. You know why? Like Katle David l'Shimi ben Gera. David did not kill Shimi ben Gera. Shimi ben Gera deserved to be executed because he cursed the king when the king was running away from Avshalom. But David decided not to kill him. David, of course, is from Yehuda. Mordechai was a descendant of Shimi. Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi. If Shimi would have been killed, there would be no Mordechai. So Yehuda took credit for Mordechai. Binyamin said, it's very nice, but he's a descendant from us. So each family took credit for him. Yehuda said, he's our child. David saved him, even though biologically he's not. But the reason he's here is because of Yehuda, and Binyamin said the reason he's here is because of Binyamin. Rava says, Knesset Yisrael Amr Le'idach Gisa. The congregation of the Jewish people said the opposite. Meaning they assigned blame, not credit, blame for Mordechai's birth both to Yehuda and Binyamin because they saw Mordechai as the source of their trouble. Knesset Yisrael, who was forlorn spiritually, were complaining. Look what the Yehudi did for me, the one from Yehuda, and look what the Yemini, the Benjaminite, did for me. Ma'aseh Yehudi. What did this Yehudi do to Lekatli David l'Shimi? David didn't kill Shimi, the Salad b'nei Mordechai, the Mekane Bey Haman, from whom descended Mordechai, and he provoked Haman. He didn't bow down to him. He's the source of the problem. If he would have not agitated Haman, there would have been not problems. Why didn't David kill Shimi ben Gera? Look, he should have killed him. He did the wrong thing, and now we have all these problems. Mordechai is creating this new potential Holocaust. And what did Yemini? Lekatli Shaul Agag. Shaul, who was from Binyamin, didn't kill Agag, the king of Amalek, when he captured the king. This Yalad b'nei Haman the Mitzar Yisrael. Haman came from him and he oppressed the Jewish people. So basically, Rava is saying this was a lamentation. They were blaming Yehud and they were blaming Binyamin for all their problems. If we wouldn't have a Mordechai, Haman wouldn't be agitated. And if we wouldn't have a Haman, we wouldn't have any problems. So one David is guilty for because he never killed Shimi, and one Shaul is guilty for because he was from Binyamin and he never killed Agag. Rabbi Yochanan Amar la'olam mi Binyamin ka'asi. Rabbi Yochanan says no, he came from Binyamin. Amai kari la Yehudi. Why is he called a Yehudi? Al shum shekafar ba'avodah zarah. Because he denied, he crushed, he repudiated idolatry, by not bowing down to Haman, who made himself an object of worship. He was kaifer, he fought, and he completely negated every concept of idolatry. Shekala kaifer b'avodah zarah nikra Yehudi. The definition of Yehudi is Haida'ah. He's Maida. He acknowledges the oneness of Hashem and he denies every type of Metzias of Avodah Zarah. Anything. Why is it connected to the word Yehudi? The Gemara doesn't say, but the Pashtus, the word Yehudi comes from the word thankfulness, Hapam Oida, right, gratitude, or the word Haida'ah, surrender, submission. A Jew, a Yehudi, is somebody who's Maida, who acknowledges that there's only one reality, real reality in the world. And anything that's a reality outside of Hashem, like Haman, the moment he made himself a Metzias, he's kaifer b'avodah zarah. That's the Yehudi. Yehudi is not a biological description, it's an ideological description. What type of person he was. He came from Binyamin, but he was an Ish Yehudi Haya b'Shushna ben. Kediksiv, the Pasuk says the Pasuk tells us in Daniel, Isai Gavrin Yehudayin, Chananya Mishal and Azariah, it says, you are Gavrin Yehudayin, you are Judahites, They didn't serve Nebuchadnezzar's gods. They did not bow down to the golden image that he created, and because of that, the name that's used for them is Gavrin Yehudayin. Isai Guvrin Yehudayin. Basically, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were three youngsters who were sent into exile with Yechaniah, and they became servants in the palace of Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar created a statue of gold that he demanded everybody to worship as a god. They refused. That's when he had them cast into a fiery furnace. So in chapter Gimel of Daniel, he says, Isai Guvrin Yehudayin, there are Jewish men, Yehudayin, who don't serve any other gods, and they will not bow down to the golden image that you have put up. So Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah were also not from Shevet Yehuda, apparently, according to Rabbi Yochanan at least. So why are they called Yehudim? Because they were Kaifer and Avodah Zarah. That's what Tosfos writes here, because if you say they were from the tribe Yehuda, you could just say Yehudayin is that they were from the tribe of Yehuda, but apparently he believes they were not from the tribe of Yehuda, which means even in Daniel, you have the reference of Yehuda. I should just add, because this is just very interesting, Rashi in the Megillah says, why is he called Ish Yehudi? He says a very interesting idea. Because the 10 tribes of Israel were exiled by the Assyrian king. Remember, we learned a few days ago in the history lesson that Nebuchadnezzar, before he destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, he first exiled the king Yechaniah, Melech Yehuda. Yechaniah was the son of Yehoiakim, who was a brother of Yahyachaz, and he was also the son of Yoshiyahu. And Yechaniah took over, and Nebuchadnezzar was upset. They told him, you're not going to have a good cub coming out from a bad dog. And Yehoiakim was so bad, you're not going to have a good cub, and therefore get rid of Yechaniah. And that's when he exiled Yechaniah with some of the greatest sages and prophets to Bavel. Only 11 years later did he come back and destroy the Beis HaMikdash after the new king Tzidkiyahu rebelled against him. But there was 11 years between exile 1 and exile 2. Mordechai, we learn in the Megillah, right? We learn in the Megillah about Mordechai. You say it in the Nigun of Eicha. Asher haglami Yerushalayim hagayla asher haglasayim Yechaniah melech Yehuda asher hagla Nebuchadnezzar melech Bavel. So who did he come to Galus with? He came to Galus with Yechaniah melech Yehuda, the king of Yehuda. So Rashi says that even though he himself was from Binyamin, but anybody who was exiled with the kings of Yehuda are called Yehudim, even if they come from another tribe, because they were part of the entourage, I guess, of Shevet Yehuda. And let's also remember that from this point, everybody will just be called Yehudi. Till today, a Jew is a Jew is a Jew. The word Jew comes from where? Not Hebrew, not Yisrael. It comes from Yehuda. Judah is Jew. Because the 10 tribes were gone for the most part, there were only 2 tribes left, Yehuda and Binyamin. The king was from Yehuda, and Rashi says since he followed the king, so therefore that population got the new name of Yehudi. The Gemara here gives the interpretation either it was a mother and a father, or it was families arguing about him, or finally, a Yehudi is a description of a kaifer ba'avodah zara. But till this point, they couldn't be called Yehudim. It's very clear why, because there were 10 tribes, 12 tribes. But now there were only 2 tribes left in the majority, and Yehuda was really the king. So therefore, Mordechai got this name of Yehudi because he was part of the exile of Yechaniah Melech Yehuda. That's Rashi's interpretation in the Megillah. The Gemara does not give this interpretation. It's just a very interesting interpretation. I just wanted to mention that.
Only Yehuda and Benjamin are the 2 tribes that are left?
There are some from the other tribes, but the majority of the other tribes were relocated and they assimilated. We haven't heard from them since. It's one of the great mysteries of Jewish history. Within 150 years, most of the Jewish people are not heard of ever again until today. It's one of the mysteries of Jewish history. They're exiled and they assimilate so successfully that we just don't hear from them again. And it happens like this. It doesn't take like 1,000 years. Huh?
Why not Levi? There's still Leviim and Kohanim.
No question. There's from all the Shvatim. The problem is the 10 tribes were living across Eretz Yisrael. The Assyrian king came and he plucked them out of their environment and he sent them into exile and he relocated them. But any one of those 10 tribes who were living in Yerushalayim or in the area of Yehuda and Binyamin, which was Yerushalayim, they could remain, like the Kohanim and the Leviim, because they served in the Beis HaMikdash. So that's why there's Kohanim and Leviim. And we still have Jews from other tribes, but they're the minority. Most Jews that survived the exile were Yehuda and Binyamin because they were not touched, they were untouched by the Sancheriv. He tried to come to Yerushalayim, but he died, like we learned before. So therefore, Majority was Yehuda and Binyamin, but you still had minorities of Jews from the other tribes. Till today, you could be from Yisachar. Huh? Well, every few years there's some tribe in Japan or Africa or Afghanistan or Yemen or Ethiopia who will emerge and tell you, that they have this custom to, not eat bagels for 8 days.
They're not extinct, they're just part of a big challenge now.
Yeah,
But the
I
minority
mean
are
extinct
still
as a distinct identity. I don't mean extinct. Distinct, yeah. Not extinct, but they were not anymore distinct.
So it could be that the gay, just an idea, gay from all over the world who are suddenly waking up. That
Could be.
a little piece of
That could be. With also the Khazarites, in the area of Russia and Ukraine near the Black Sea in the 600s or 700s, there was a whole nation that converted to Judaism. They were called the Khuzrim, the Khazarites. That was, huh? No, they converted halachically, but the empire was like in Kiev area, the Kiev near the Black Sea, Ukraine. But I think they stretched all the way. Yeah, it was a big kingdom, very powerful. Then they were destroyed. No, Tzdukim is something else. That's Bayis Sheni, yeah.
Think they're going to be surprises when Mashiach comes?
Well, says the Gemara, Reb Shimon ben Pazi, Reb Shimon the son of Pazi, he have a pasach b'divrei hayamim. Whenever he would open up a discussion of divrei hayamim, the book of divrei hayamim, the book of Chronicles, is supposed to be a very simple book because it just chronicles like the basic history of the Jewish people. There's Divrei Hayam Aleph and Divrei Hayam Beis. When he would start teaching it, he used to say something very interesting. He would say, Kol dvarecha echad heim. All your words are really one, which means sometimes you list off a bunch of names and it's really one name. Ve'anu yoidin l'darshan. But we have the acute wisdom, we know how to explain it. So Divrei Hayamim has a lot of hints in it, and really, we are the ones who know how to explain it. And he gives an example. Divrei Hayamim Aleph, chapter 4. It speaks about a woman, ve'ishtoi ha'Yehudiya, his wife, she's called Yehudiya, Yolda es Yered avi Gdor, es Chever avi Soicha, es Yukasiel avi Zanayach. She gave birth to Yered, apparently the father of Gdor, Chever the father of Soicha, Yukasiel the father of Zanayach, ve'ele b'nei Bisya bas Paria shalokach Mared. And these were the daughters of Bisya, the daughter of Parai. These were the children of Bisya, the daughter of Parai, who Mered married. Okay. Now, when you look at this pasuk, it's a little strange, right? It says, his wife Yehudiya gave birth to all these kids, Yered and Chever and Yekusiel, and these are the daughters of Bisya, who's the daughter of Parai, who married Mered. What is going on here? What is going on here? By the way, this is the source that Parai's daughter's name was Batya. This is the source. It doesn't say in Chumash who Parai's daughter was. It just says Parai's daughter came and took Moshe from the Nile. But it doesn't say who she was. This is the source, Divrei Hayamim, that her name... Huh? It says Bisya Bas Parai. We say Batya. It's really Bisya, Bitya.
Maybe had more than one girl.
Huh?
Maybe had more than one girl. All right.
Okay. Okay, we'll soon see why we assume it's the same one. Amai Karila Yehudiya. First of all, why are you calling her Yehudiya when at the end of the pasuk you call her Batya? Bisya, you say it's Why are you calling her Yehudiya? Now we know. Al Shum Shekafra B'Avodah Zarah. Because she denied Avodah Zarah. The Ksiv, where did she deny Avodah Zarah? The Ksiv, it says in Shmos, Vateret Bas Parai Lirchotz Al Haya'or. The daughter of Parai went to bathe on the river. Of course, we all know the story. The daughter of Parai goes down to bathe on the river of Amar Rabbi Yochanan Sheyarda Lirchotz Migilulei Beisavir. Rabbi Yochanan says she went down to cleanse herself from the idolatry of her father's house. This was not just she went to bathe. She went to the mikveh. She went to clean up herself, like a type of conversion, like a type of gerus. Rashi says it was a form of gerus. Why is this? What is she looking for? She is, Rashi says, litboil gerus. She is repulsed by her father's baby. Why is Rabbi Yochanan saying? Why can't you just say she went to bathe? She went to bathe. She went to bathe. He can't say she went to bathe literally. She went to bathe. So you could say he was wondering why the Torah tells you she went to bathe. Well, maybe that's why she went to the Nile. She went to the Nile to bathe. But the interesting thing is, I think what Rabbi Yochanan is really telling us is, think about the idea. Just think about it practically. Her father should be compared to Hitler or to Stalin. What's the last thing you would think Hitler's daughter would do in life? Save a Jewish kid, take him to the palace, raise him, and pay a woman to nurse him, right? Your father really didn't manage to inculcate some good anti-Semitism inside of you? From all people, you're the one saving a Jewish kid. So Rabbi Yochanan said, this is the story. The story is that when this girl went to the river, she was really rejecting the whole philosophy, the whole ideology of her father. This was not just going into water. This was a mikveh. This was a transformative moment. That's what he's saying. And that's what explains why it says, Lirchetz al haya'or. You don't bathe on a river. You bathe in a river. You don't go Lirchetz al haya'or, on top of it. Lirchetz al haya'or. But the ya'or was their avodah zarah. They worshipped the Nile Delta. Because they loved the Nile, that was the source of Egyptian irrigation. So that's why she's called Yehudiya. She's called Yehudiya.
Like
She's on top of this idol, yeah. Yeah.
She's on top of it. And she used it for her
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
And even Parah knew that the Yar wasn't an avodah zarah. He knew it was a joke because he went down there and also took care of his needs and everything.
He would defecate there, yeah. He would defecate there, yeah.
The dictator didn't know the truth.
Yeah.
You know that my father it's all false, and I'm rejecting that.
Yeah. It says the Jacobson writes that in the story of Moshe, so when his mother places him there, it says she puts him in the marsh. What is it called? In the reed, in between the reeds. Yeah. Then later the Targum Onkelos says that when she puts her at the bank of the river, not in the river, like in the grass, the reeds over there, the bushes. But then the Targum shows that Paro's daughter saw the casket, the box, in the river. So the Rokachava says, what's the difference? He says that the Ya'or was an avodah zarah, the Nile was an avodah zarah. A Jew is not allowed to have hana from avodah zarah. So Moshe's box would not float in the river because it was an avodah zarah. But when Paro's daughter came to bathe, so lirchetz megilulei aviha, so she was mavatal the avodah zarah. She said, this is a joke, this is not an avodah zarah. When a guy is mavatal an avodah zarah, it's not an avodah zarah anymore. So now the basket could go into the river because it's eis avodah zarah. Because by a guy, there could be bittul avodah zarah. If a guy has a getchka and he, let's say, breaks an ear and he says, this is garbage, you could use it, you can have enough from it. By the way, a Jew can do bittul avodah zarah. We can't do it. A guy could do bittul avodah zarah. So once she was mavatal avodah zarah through the bathing, she's saying, nah, this is a mikveh, this is no avodah zarah. So now the box could go in. So what the Rekat Shavar says. That's what he writes. Tzafnas Paneach Parshas Shmais. Some people had a clear vision of Torah. Says the Gemara, Yolda, she gave birth. He continues, he says, Ishte ha-Yehudiya Yolda, she gave birth. Now we never heard that Batya gave birth, so it must be referring to Moshe. She never birthed him, she raised him. If you raise a yasam or your saima, a male orphan or a female orphan, a boy or a girl who's an orphan in your house, the Torah considers it as though you gave birth to them. Moshe would have been separated from his parents because of Paro's decree. He was considered an orphan, even though he had parents. An orphan doesn't necessarily mean your parents are dead. An orphan could mean you have parents, but you don't have a relationship with them. That's why there's people, right? They're orphans even though they have parents because there's no relationship. Moshe would have been an orphan even though they would have been alive, but he wouldn't have a relationship with them because he would have been separated from them. So who raised him? Paro's daughter raised a Yasam and a Yisaima. L'Payel, she also connected the mother and the child for a few years till he stopped nursing. But then she raised him. So we learn from here that she becomes the mother. When you raise an orphan, you are considered the parent. It's like a pru'urvu, it's like your child. Yered, now we speak about all the children she gave birth to, which is only one child. Yered zem Moshe. V'lama nikra shma Yered, sheyared lem liyisrael man b'yamav. Because of him, the man came down to the Jewish people. He's called Yered, which means Yerida. He brought down the man to the Jewish people. G'doir, shegadar pirtzeisein shal Yisrael. He fenced in the breaches of the Jewish people. He basically gave them the Torah, which fenced them in from immoral and repulsive behavior. That's G'doir, from the word Geder, fence. Chever, shechiber es Yisrael aviyin shebashamayim. Chever means a friend, chibur. He connected the Jews to their Father in heaven. Yukusiel, shekivu Yisrael el biyamav. Yukusiel is also Moshe, because the Jewish people looked with hope towards Hashem in his days. Yukusiel is kivu lakel, like tikva, kaveh el Hashem. They looked with hope. Zanoyach sheizniach havenesein sheyisrael. He cast off, he threw away the sins of the Jewish people through his prayers. So all the names, Yered, G'doir, Chever. I skipped one, right? Soichai, Soichai, Zem Moshe, Shenasalem liyisrael kesukkah. He became like the Jewish people, for the Jewish people, like a sukkah, a protective covering. He saved them. So all the names, Yered, G'dor, Chever, Soichi, Kasil, Zanoyach, are all Moshe Rabbeinu. So I'd say Avi, Avi, Avi 3 times, because he was of B'Torah, of B'Chachma, of B'Nevias. He was their father in Torah, their father in wisdom, and their father in prophecy. And that's why he's considered Yered, Avi, G'dor, Chever, Avi, Soichi, Kasil, Avi, Zanoyach. Then the pasuk continues, Ve'ele b'nei Bisya shalokach Moret. These are all the daughters of Bisya, which is really only one child. That's why Rabbi Shua ben Pazi said about Divrei Hayamim that it's written in a code language sometimes. These are the daughters of Bisya. V'chi Mered Shmai, her husband wasn't married. Halei Kalev Shmai, her husband was Kalev. The pasuk earlier speaks about the children of Kalev, and these are the daughters of Bisya who married Mered, and Mered is Kalev. So why are you calling him Mered? The Torah is talking there about Kalev. This is fascinating. Hashem said, let Kalev, who rebelled against the plan of the spies, marry the daughter of Pare, who rebelled against the idolatry of her father. So he's called Mered because he was a rebel, and she was a rebel. And rebels should marry rebels, because these are people who don't believe in the status quo. These are people who do not get nispal from others who want to remain in the quagmire of their comfort zones and not stand up to injustice and abuse and idolatry and lies and falsehood. Rebels need to marry rebels because they changed the world together. So Kalev married Paro's daughter. You understand? Kalev ben Yefunah married Paro's daughter, Batya. Yeah. Why is he called Mered? Because the Torah is not telling you about the shidduch, it's telling you why the shidduch happened. You know why she married him? She was looking for a Mered. She was looking for a rebel. She wasn't looking for a person to say, yeah. Kalev would rebel against the spies. He had it in his blood. He would not go with the herd. If they're doing wrong, he will speak out against them. And it was dangerous to do it. She was the same kid. She grew up in Paro's palace, and she completely rebelled against her father and everything he stood for. Kalev's characteristics spoke to her. Huh? Azus, yeah, chutzpah.
Who married Miriam?
Huh?
Who married Miriam?
When she died, he married Miriam. Kalev. Yeah.
Was Kalev much younger than Batya?
I don't know.
So Kalev had to have been much older than Moshe. He had to be at least 20 years older than Moshe. Moshe was in the river, and he's marrying
Perhaps.
Batya.
Perhaps.
They say the
Ah?
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, Miriam.
Miriam is like
And you know why Miriam married Kalev? She was also a rebel. She rebelled against her parents. Her parents separated. The Gemara says in Saita, and she told her father, "You're worse than Parai." And she got them together. Yeah. Remember, she is the one who got Batya to take care of Moshe, to get Batya to get her mother to nurse Moshe. Yeah. Huh? No, she was obviously older. But she was the daughter of Parah. But we see that she's called Yehudiya because she's Kaifer in Avodah Zarah, just like Ish Yehudi. This explains Rabbi Yochanan why Mordechai is called Ish Yehudi.
The Gemara gives a different reason why Caleb married Miriam.
Remind me.
Because she was very, very ugly, because she had saras. Nobody
Ah.
wanted to marry. He wanted to be joined to Moshe's family.
I hear.
As the Gemara says.
Says the Gemara, Asher Haglam Yerushalayim im Hagoyla. Mordechai was exiled from Yerushalayim with the exile Amarava Shegala Me Atzmai. He was the only one who was not forced to go into exile, because it says Asher Haglam Yerushalayim im Hagoyla. He was exiled with the exile. What do you mean with? He was the exile. He was part of the exile. No, he was different. He went himself. He went away. He went to Gullus himself. Apparently, he felt that he needed to go into Bavel because his presence would be critical there. So he went in to Gullus himself. He was not forced by Nebuchadnezzar to leave Jerusalem. Huh? Yeah. Tosfos says it doesn't say Asher Hugla. It says Asher Hagla. Not Hugla. He was not a byproduct of somebody else's decision. It was his own decision to go into Gullus.
He made the right decision.
Yeah. Very good. Vayhi oimen es Hadassah hi Esther bas doidei. As we learn about Mordechai, we learn the next thing about him is that he was oimen, which means he took care, he raised Hadassah, who is Esther. The pasuk says Vayhi oimen, right? What's the lashon? Vayhi oimen. Vayhi oimen es Hadassah hi Esther bas doidei ki ein lo ava aim. She had no father and mother, so he basically he raised Esther, Hadassah, who's Esther. So the Gemara says, Karila Hadassah v'Karila Esther. Who is she, Hadassah or Esther? Tanya Reb Meir Omer Esther Shma. V'lama nikra Shma Hadassah al shem hatzadikim shenikru Hadassah. Her name was Esther. Why is she called Hadassah? Because tzadikim are called Hadassah, myrtles, like a Hadas. V'cheinu Omer and Schaya v'hu Omed bein Hadassim, and he, the angel, stands among the Hadassim, among the tzadikim. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, Hadassah Shma. Her name is Hadassah. Lama nikra Shma Esther. Hashem shoysam asteres dvoreh. She concealed her words. Shenemar ein Esther mageda, says Amma. She would not tell Achashverosh about her background and her nation. Esther comes from the word concealment, like Hester. Reb Nechemya Omer, Hadassah Shma. Her name is Hadassah. V'lama nikras Esther. Shayu umas ha'olam kairin roisa al shum istahar. The reason she was called Esther is because the nations of the world used to call her Esther, naming her after the moon, as though to say that she is as beautiful as the moon. Because Sahara, Estahar, in Aramaic is the moon. So the name Esther is similar to Sarah. They called her the moon. She was as radiant, as beautiful, as gorgeous as I guess, heartwarming as the moon at night. Ben Azai Omer, Ben Azai says, Esther, Loi arucha v'loi ktsara haisa lebenis k'Hadassah. She was neither short, she was neither tall, she was an average height, like a myrtle, like a hadas. A hadas is a myrtle that we use. So therefore he says that she was mamish like a myrtle. It's interesting.
Well, what does that mean? A plant is a plant.
Huh?
What's the average? How does it fit? Look at the tree. It says the average tree. So what does it mean?
She wasn't too tall, she wasn't too short. She was an average height. Like somebody once said about their child, ich will nicht so sein a größer Chacham, ich will sein a größer Typisch, you know? Not too smart and not too dumb. People who are too smart are complicated. People who are too dumb, huh? Chana asked that, right? It says,
How does it relate to a
it's
myrtle?
true.
A myrtle is a myrtle. What is the average thing?
No, Chana said about her child, she wants Zera Anoshim. So the Gemara says in Brachas, like Goiva, like a normal mensch, normal.
This I can understand, but the analogy to a myrtle.
Why a myrtle branch?
But a myrtle branch is a myrtle branch. What is the average about it? They're all the same size. It doesn't fit.
A myrtle, you ever saw a myrtle? It's not too tall. It's not too short.
It's not a giant redwood.
You never saw a myrtle?
Relative.
Huh? Of course it's relative. Everything is relative.
I'm looking for
You have
that.
huge ones also.
Huh?
You have huge
Myrtles? No.
Not myrtle.
You don't have huge ones. That's his point. You don't have.
It means they are all the same size?
They're all
It
average.
still doesn't.
That's why she was called Hadassah, because she was the height of a myrtle. Beinani, yeah. Beinani is Hadassah. Rabbi Shua ben Karcha Omer, Rabbi Shua ben Karcha says, Esther Yirakroikas Haya. You know why she's called Hadassah? She was greenish. She had a greenish complexion like a myrtle. V'chut shel huh?
Is it green or yellow?
Greenish, yellowish. Greenish complexion, I think. Hadassah is not yellow, no?
Right, it's green.
But they say Iraq.
She was called Hadassah, I guess.
Do you think it's
V'chut shel chesed mashach aleh. But she was endowed with a touch of grace. Chut shel chesed mashach aleh.
literally green?
A greenish complexion. Rashi says, "Me'es HaKadosh Baruch Hu lekach niris yafa le'umas alach hashverish." That's why she appeared so beautiful. There was, if you looked at the complexion, it actually had a greenishness to it. It should have made her not so appealing to Achashverosh and all the nations. Why did it say Esther found grace in everybody's eyes? Right? It says, "Hanar yefas Torah v'toivas mara," and whoever saw her, it says, "Vatisa chen be'enei kol rayah." Whoever saw Esther saw the grace. So it says, "Chut shel chesed." There was a special touch of divine grace that you looked at her, and there was just something very special about her. That's what Rabbi Shua ben Karcha says. I saw the Vilna Gaon says, why would Rabbi Shua ben Karcha say this? It says that Esther was beautiful. It says, no, she has a greenish complexion, but she has a touch of grace because she's called Hadassah. Give another interpretation for Hadassah. Not that she's a grine. You used to call the Jews a grine, right? A green one is Esther. Huh? The Vilna Gaon says, very interesting, that the Gemara in Baba Basra discusses when did Job live? When did Eov live? So Rabbi Shua ben Karcha says Eov lived in the times of Achashverosh. In the Sefer Eov, it says that he had daughters who were the most beautiful in the world. If she was the most beautiful in the world, says the Vilna Gaon, why didn't Achashverosh take them? Why didn't Achashverosh take them? Why did it say here that Esther was the most beautiful and etc.? So the Rabbi Shua ben Karcha, who believes that Eov was in the time of Achashverosh, he's forced to say that they were the most beautiful, because Esther really, Taka had a greenish complexion. So why did Achashverosh take her and not them? Chut shel chesed mashach aleh. That's why Rabbi Shua ben Karcha is forced to give this interpretation, because he is the one who holds that Eov lived in the times of Achashverosh. That's how he explains Rabbi Shua ben Karcha's position. Ki ein la'ava ein.
So the green made her more beautiful?
No. That's why Eov's daughters are considered the most beautiful. But there was a chet shel chesed, mashach aleh. It wasn't just physical beauty. Sometimes a person has a touch of grace. Chut shel chesed is like a thread of grace that's spread over them. It's like a halo. Chut shel chesed. Chesed is grace. It's kindness, but it's grace. Yeah, but I'm saying in the times of Achashverosh. Chut shel chesed means a thread, like a thread of kindness, a thread of chesed, a halo of chesed that's drawn over her. Mashach is drawn over her. It's something not always tangible. In terms of the complexion, it was not that way. That's what the Vilna Gaon explains why Rabbi Shua ben Karcha has this opinion. Ein la'ava aim. Why is Mordechai raising a girl? Because she doesn't have a father and a mother. That's what it says. Because she doesn't have a father and a mother, ein la'ava aim, so therefore he raises her. In the continuation of the pasuk, it says again, and when her father and mother died, Mordechai took her as a daughter. It already said, Mordechai raised her because she doesn't have a father and mother. And when they died, he took her in. Obviously, he could have just said that. Amar Rabacha, she didn't have a father and a mother even one day. Ibarta Meisavia. When her mother became pregnant with her father died. Yoladata, when her mother gave birth, Meisa Ima, the mother died. Meaning, She never had a father and a mother even for a day. Even in pregnancy, she didn't have a father, and even in birth, she didn't have a mother. That's why it says, not only when her father and mother died, Ein la ava ein, she never had a father and a mother, not even for a day, because when she was born, her mother died immediately. That's why the pasuk doesn't just say when her father and mother died, Mordechai raised her. That could have meant they died after a year, after 2 years, after 3 years. It also says she doesn't have a father and a mother, meaning she's the type of girl who doesn't have a father and a mother. What? I saw the Shemesh Shmuel, somebody writes, why does the Megillah want to tell this to us? It's part of the story. Because the Gemara says in Masechta Kedushin, Ashrei Misha Loi Chaman. Sometimes a person who didn't see his parents is lucky. Why? Because the mitzvah of Kibud Ava Aim is such a big mitzvah. And it's so easy to fail at it. So if somebody never had a father and a mother, they never failed in the mitzvah of Kibbud Av V'Em because all they had was a yearning that they should do the mitzvah of Kibbud Av V'Em. And when you have a yearning for the mitzvah, it's like you did the mitzvah. But somebody who never had a father and a mother, they actually couldn't fail in Kibbud Av V'Em. Now the Gemara is not trying to extol the value of an orphan. It's trying to bring out how precious it is to respect a father and a mother. It's such a powerful mitzvah that almost not being responsible for it has a virtue to it because it's a mitzvah not to take light. But if somebody doesn't have a father and a mother, so they yearn, what would it have been like if I had a father? What would it have been like if I had a mother? And that yearning is as though you fulfilled the mitzvah. Esther never had a father and a mother, so all she had was a yearning for Kibbud Av V'Em. What's the whole koyach of Haman? The koyach of Haman is Amalek. What's the whole koyach of Amalek? Amalek was a son of Eliphaz, who was Esav's son. What's the whole koyach of Esav? Kibbud Av. The respect of Esav to his father was beyond anything. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel said, I respected my father unbelievably, but I don't even come close to the Kibbud Av of Esav. And it's the Kibbud Av of Esav that was his spiritual power. So who can defeat Haman? Only somebody who has that level of Kibbud Av V'Em, and that was Esther. Because Esther, she had a yearning for Kibbud Av V'Em. When you have a yearning for something, it's always complete, right? The moment you have something, there's already flaws. In the wanting something, there's no flaw. It's always with full intensity. She never had Kibbud Av V'Em. She had the yearning for Kibbud Av V'Em. So here Kibbud Av V'Em was the highest level that can be. Once you have a father and a mother, you have issues. But she never failed in Kibbud Av V'Em. She never failed. So she could be the only one who could defeat Amalek.
Rabbi and Abaya, one of them didn't
Abaya didn't have parents. Yeah.
Mashman, the Mordechai took her when she was a newborn baby.
Yeah, her mother gave birth and she died. So Mordechai had to take her in.
And he had such a position there. There must have been other people involved.
He knew his priorities. He knew his priorities.
It's not the way of
And then it says,
It's not the way of the world that very busy man faces.
he wasn't part of the world. He was his own man. He didn't look at the websites what to do. He didn't wait for the WhatsApp. And it says when she was taken to the palace, every day he walked in front of the place where they kept all the women. Every single day he walked there to find out what's happening with her. Shleim Esther. How long did he do this for?
Well, that's many years later.
I'm saying when she was taken to the palace, why did he walk every day? Send a shliach. You're the head of the Sanhedrin. Send one of your Talmidim, the guy who anyway is not learning. He's ADD, sits and makes trouble in yeshiva. Let him go to Chatzar Beis Hanashim. He'll actually enjoy the position.
Is Mordechai married?
Huh?
Is Mordechai married?
That we're going to discuss in a moment. Huh?
Wife would have taken care of it.
Maybe she.
What? Every single day he went to look for her. Every single day. Huh?
He raised
I'm saying every single day. He didn't say every day. B'chol yom v'yom. He had to leave the shia and say, "Guys, I gotta go to the women's section of the palace," and he would just walk. He wasn't even speaking to her. He couldn't speak to her, but he would walk. Ladas Shleim Esther.
With Sanhedrin.
Far walk.
Huh?
Far walk.
I don't know. He used Waze probably.
5 minutes. Why?
The Sanhedrin what?
Were they content with what was happening? Esther moving into with Achashverosh?
They had a choice. Vatilakach. You see, he was the tyrant of the time. He said,
They
"Come."
rounded up the girls. They didn't volunteer.
That's what it says. They rounded up everybody. That's why you tried to hide her, but if he couldn't, he couldn't. But the Gemara is going to now discuss all this. The Gemara says now, weiter. When the father and mother died, Mordechai took her as a daughter. Tanna mishum Reb Meir, fascinating. Al tikra labas ela labayis. It says labas, but really it could also be read labayis without a yud. But it could be interpreted, he didn't take her only as a daughter, but as a home. Which means, of course, what does it mean as a home? It means that he married her. She became his house. Beisai zu ishtay. Because it says, why would Reb Meir say this? Because it says, Lekacha Mordechai. He took her as a daughter. It doesn't say he took her as a daughter. Haisa, she was like a daughter. The word Lekacha is the word in Tanakh used for Kiddushin, betrothal. Ki yikach ish isha. A man takes a wife. So that's why Reb Meir believes that this is a concept of Kiddush. Now, obviously, we know why it doesn't say in the Megillah. The Megillah was written during the lifetime of Achashverosh. The last thing Achashverosh would have to read is that his queen was really married to his prime minister. That is not a good recipe for Jewish serenity in the Persian Empire. So we could understand why the Megillah wrote this, but wrote it labas, and then the Jews will already understand labayis.
He took her as a baby, though. The cost of her,
Obviously, but he also marries her. He marries her. They're relatives. It says bas doidai. Right? They're relatives, but he marries her. And the Gemara says, V'cheinu oimer, is there a proof for this? It's a big chiddush. It says, V'cheinu oimer, it says, when David HaMelech lives with a girl named Bathsheba, he took her from her husband, who was Uriah HaChiti. The prophet tells him a whole story. And what's the story? The story is, Ulerosh ein koil kiyim kifsa achas ktana asher kana. There was a poor man who had nothing but one little lamb that he bought. Vayichayeha. And he gave her life. Vatigdali mai v'imbanov yachdav mipitay toichel mikoisay tishta b'cheikay tishka vaytilay kavas. This little lamb was raised with him and with his children. They ate together from his bread. She drank from his cup. She slept in his bosom, and she was like a daughter. And then the wealthy man needed a lamb, and he stole it from the poor man to give his guest, and he asks David, what's the verdict? And David says the man should die, and Nasan says, you're that man. You have everything. Uriah HaChiti had one little lamb, and you steal her. So he says, Vatihiloi kavas. One says, just because she sleeps in his bosom, she's like a daughter? I mean, it's a mashal of a lamb. The answer is, Ella kebayis. It's talking about who sleeps in the bosom of a man, not his daughter, but his wife. And that's how a wife is described. Eishes chekecha, hachenami labayis. So we see from there, it says, Vatihiloi kavas. A daughter doesn't sleep in the bosom of her father, maybe when she's a baby, but not when she grows up. A wife does. And it's called kibas. So here too, it's talking about a wife. Esther was a wife. The Gemara says, what happens? Esther is taken to the palace. She's given to a man named Haggai. He's in charge of all the women. And what happens? Haggai really likes Esther. So what does he do? He gives her a lot of perfumes, and he gives her 7 girls, 7 maids to serve her. And he treats her better than everybody else. That's what the Megillah says. Vayishaneh. So he says, Sheva hana'arais, he gave her 7 girls. Haru'uyos lamebeis hamelech, amar Rava, ha'yisamoyne behen yemei Shabbos. She used these 7 to count the days of the week. Every one a different day, and one was reserved for Shabbos, and that's how she held count, and she knew when Shabbos was. She retained her Jewish identity. Vayishaneh v'esnarisel l'toif. It says that this fellow Haggai treated her better. He gave her deference. Vayishaneh. He changed her l'toif. What happened? Amar Rav. What's pshat? She'echila machal Yehudi. He gave her Jewish food. He gave her Jewish kosher food, which was unique. Shmuel Amar, the opposite. He'echila kadle de chaziri. He fed her fatty hog bacon, which was considered a delicacy. That's a good question. She didn't tell anybody that she's Jewish, but they knew that she was raised in a Jewish house, Mordechai's house. So they thought Mordechai just took in a homeless, orphan, a Gentile. They didn't know the truth. But Esther said, listen, I grew up in a Yiddish shtub and they eat kosher, so do me a favor. This is just the diet that I'm used to. And he took care of her because when you change your habits of eating, it can affect your beauty, so he took care of her. Also, she might have told him that the Jews are very busy with hygiene. They have special ways they slaughter and they eat and so on and so forth. The Ben Yehoyada, the rabbi of Baghdad, writes, he says, till today I know Gentiles in Iraq will only eat kosher shechita. The Ben Yehoyada writes, Rabbi Yosef Chaim, the Rav of Baghdad, 1800s. Till today, only kosher shechita they eat. Till today, they like kosher meals. So Esther said, listen, this is the way to go. Shmuel says he gave her delicacies. Kadla de chaziri. What's kadla de chaziri? Fatty bacon. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Zeiroinim. He fed her seeds, edible seeds, peas, beans, kernels, right? That's what he fed her, which of course is kosher. In other words, it was a real healthy diet. Because when you eat seeds, everybody's into eating seeds today, right? This is the source. Esther ate seeds. It says about Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah and Daniel. Remember Nebuchadnezzar's boys. The steward took away their food, which was treif, and he gave them seeds. And after 10 days, they looked much better than all the other youth because they didn't want to eat the treif of food of Nebuchadnezzar. The steward was afraid. They said, don't worry, you take our treif of food, you give us seeds, and it's going to be good. And they looked much better than anybody else because when you eat seeds, you're sprouts, very good, sprouts and wheatgrass juice. This is the source. This is what he gave her. He gave her zeroinim, no carbs, gluten-free, no sugar, garnish for hak, nothing, no danishes, and no chazer, but seeds. Okay, gewaldig.
They wet the seeds and then they sprouted and it brought out their nutrients. It's the healthiest food, the sprouts. It's the healthiest food.
Very, very good. Let's just go a few minutes, another few minutes. Is that fine? Huh? Okay, don't worry. Huh? What?
Rabbi, they did a rancher had some cows that weren't giving birth anymore.
Yeah.
But they were still young enough that they should be giving birth. And so he didn't, what's the matter with them?
Yeah.
Anyway, he changed their food. He took the oats and the food barley that he gave them and he sprouted it first and fed them. And they started having children again. They got healthier and were able to conceive.
That's good for the cows.
Wow.
We eat the cows.
Wow.
Yeah, the sprouts have tremendous nutrients.
Wow.
For cows.
Okay. Now it says, what did Achashverosh do? All the girls would come, right? And they would come to Achashverosh after a year. I mean, you have to understand what was going on. For a year, they had training and preparations before going to the king for one night. What happened during that year? 6 months perfume of something called Shemen Hamor. Another 6 months of different spices and incense and perfumes. And then she could come to the king for an evening in which the king would meet her, etc., etc. And at night she would come, in the morning she would leave the palace, and obviously she was only invited a second time if Achashverosh was pleased and he wanted her a second time. It was 1 year, I mean, captivity in the sense that you couldn't leave, but they treated you, I mean, massages, yoga, Pilates, perfumes. Yeah. It says, Vatilokach, she was taken. It says, Shicha Shechadashim b'Shemen Amar, 6 months with the oil of myrrh. What is that? What is this oil of myrrh? My Shemen Amar. The B'chia bar Rabba Amar, stacked. It was balsam. Stakat. Samach Tov, Tes Chav Tov. Which is a fragrant oil that exudes. It exudes from the myrrh tree. There's a tree that's called myrrh, M-Y-R-R-H, and this is the balsam, this very fragrant oil that they would give to the girls for 6 months. Reb Huna says no. Shemen Hamor is bitter oil. Shemen Zayis Shalehevi Shlish. Oil of myrrh is oil of olives that didn't attain 1/3 of the normal growth. So the olives are very, very bitter, because it didn't even attain 1/3 of its normal growth. But the oil apparently is very powerful. So they used that type of oil. So Reb Chia says it was balsam. Reb Huna says it was olive oil, but very bitter. Tanya, we have a brisa where this type of oil is mentioned. Rabbi Yehuda Omer an pakinun. There's something called an pakinun. and it's referring to the fact that anpekinon can't be used for the mincha. What's anpekinon? Shemen zayis shaloi hevi shlish. Olive oil, in which the olives did not yet attain a third of their normal growth. Why do people smear this shemen, this type of balsam or this type of oil? What is it for? It removes hair and it causes the skin to glow, and that's why they use this. The Megillah says, "Be'erev hi bo, v'aboker hi shava." In the evening, the girl would come. In the morning, she would go back to the second house of the woman, in the custody of a man named Shashgaz, the king's chamberlain. He was the guardian of the concubines, and she would not go again to the king unless he called her. So there were two homes. There was the home when you arrived. You were there for a year. Then you went to the king, and then you went to the second home, and you were not called back unless the king wanted you again. I mean, you imagine what type of operation this was. So the Gemara says something fascinating. From the disgusting behavior of that Russia, we learn something positive. He would not have marital relations during the day, because it says, "Ba'erev hi ba u'va'boker hi shava." She came at night, but the next morning she returned back to the home. In other words, he was only with them at night. So from the disgrace of what he was doing here, you also learn something positive, and that is that he had respect in the sense that the relations were at night.
No, he didn't have respect. He just was sleeping all day.
He was sleeping all day. Okay. Mignusoi shel oisei rasha. Interesting words. Mignusoi shel oisei rasha lamadnu shvachai. From the gnus, you also learn something positive about him. Vati Esther noises chen. Esther found grace in everybody's eyes. She found favor in the eyes of everybody who saw her. What does this mean? Amar Rebbe Lazar melamed shalakol echad ve'echad nidmas alai kol masai. She appeared to each person as a member of his own tribe, of his own nation. People find people of their race, their ethnic group, their nation, their tribe most appealing because there's like a chemistry, there's a kinship. And that was Esther's unique quality. Whoever met her, you felt she is one of ours. She just, she belongs to us. She belongs to me. So you could just connect. There's specialist people, you could just connect with them in a very real, in a very intimate, in a very personal way. Rashi says earlier on Dav Zayin, Hayu Eimrim b'fiyim zu mishalunuhi. When you saw Esther, you said, she's mishaluni. The expression mishaluni. She's from ours. Huh? Von unserer mishalonu. But that's Rashi's expression.
But it uses the lashon nidmasa, like it
Appeared.
So
Because she was Jewish, of course.
To the goyim, the hitzonios is so chashuv. So it appeared to them that she was.
Umasa.
But it wasn't a panemius, really, type of a relationship.
Yeah, I would interpret it a little differently. I would interpret it. The Maharal says this in a few places. The Jew, the function of the Jew is really to change the world, to inspire the whole world. So a real Jew could find very deep commonality with every type of living being. Because, as I always say, we were chosen people to reveal that everybody was chosen in their own unique way. So you have to really be able to connect to the chosenness of each individual. So the real Jew is not tribal. Yes, we're tribal in the sense that Ata v'chartanu mikol ha'amim, and a Jew, there's hamavdil ben Yisrael la'amim, etc. But not tribal in the sense of phobias and insecurities, and I can't speak to you. And that's what you see by Esther, that everyone could feel completely comfortable with her. And you'll see people who are larger than life, everybody feels comfortable with them because they know how to make you feel comfortable, and most importantly, they know how to really connect to you. They don't hide behind the camouflages of tribal insecurities. You know what I mean? That's how I understand it. And it's a very powerful trait when you see it. It's a very powerful trait. Like to really be able to make people feel that you're one of them in a good way, not in a place, not from insecurity, but from strength. Sometimes you make everybody feel that you're one of them because you don't know who you are. So I'm you. A chameleon. What is it called? A chameleon? Chameleon, right? You're always changing colors because you're a people's pleaser. But that's not the vart here. The word is on the contrary, you're larger. So therefore, I can encompass every type of tribe, and I could really make the person feel that I'm one of his because I could connect to that person in a deep way. She's taken to the king, to the palace, the 10th month, the month of Tevis. Why does the Megillah have to say it was the month of Tevis? And if it was Shvat, and if it was Kislev? I'll tell you why this was part of the miracle. Yerach shenena guf min haguf. Tevis is the coldest month of the year. It's the month in which one body derives more pleasure from another body because of the body warmth generated. And Achashverosh would be more likely to desire Esther in such a month. That's why Hashem arranged she should be taken in the month of Tevis. She should become queen and save the Jewish people, because in the month of Tevis, it's very, very cold. Now remember, this is 2,600 years ago. So, it's very cold. You could light a bonfire, but it's a very cold time. Yes. So therefore, the body is cold, and the body desires the warmth of another body. So it's Yerach shenene guf min haguf. The body enjoys the body. Vayav hamelech es Esther mikol anoshim vatisa chen v'chesed lefanov mikol apsulos. This is quite a pasuk. The king loved Esther more than all the women, and she won more of his grace and favor than all the other virgins. Do you see the contradiction? First, he loves her more than all the women, and then he loves her more than all the virgins. Change of phrases, change of expression. Vayev mikol anoshim, v'tizchem mikol apsulos. Amar Rav said something. Bikesh litaim tam psula, tam. If Achashverosh desired to experience a virgin, he experienced it in the person of Esther. Tam ba'ula. If he wanted to experience the taste of a non-virgin, tam. He also tasted it in Esther. That was the uniqueness. On one level, Esther was an Isha. She was a married woman. He could taste in her the tam of a ba'ula, a woman who was already together with a man. Or it says, Bikol Psula, she was the best from all the Psulas. Psula is a woman who never had relations, a virgin. Because if he wanted, Tam Psula Tam. And if he wanted, Tam Ba'ula Tam. Because apparently, she was married already to Mordechai, so she was not a virgin anymore. And she was with Achashverosh more than once. So at this point, she's not a Psula. But nonetheless, she had that uniqueness that if he wanted, there was a Tam Psula and a Tam Ba'ula, because it's completely different experiences in terms of Achashverosh's experience.
All you had that time when you don't have that time.
You're Achashverosh? So you want to you want to hear what the Maharal has to say on this, right?
Yep.
So the Maharal says something very powerful. He says, what's the difference of Tam Psula and Tam Ba'ula? What's the difference? So obviously there is the physical difference, the physical sensation, the physical pleasure, the physical experience that's different. But everything physical comes from a certain sensitivity. There's a certain difference in characteristics. So he says, Psula is freshness. Freshness. Yeah. There's the special pleasure, the special taste of something that you don't own, something that's new. In his words, something that you don't have a kinyan in. Usually you're married, so you already feel that you own each other. So there is a pleasure from the routine, from the knowledge, from the acquaintance, but you don't have the power of hischachus, of newness, because you feel like you own it, you know it's mine. He says, Loi haya loi kinyan ba. Esther was the type of person you couldn't own her. You couldn't feel like you acquired her. Achashverosh never felt that he got her. So she was always something new. It was always a new girl. Every night, she was like a new girl. I never felt like I have you. I already know you. So it's just a repetition, which has its uniqueness. You're used to it. You already know each other's mahalach. That's one element. And I think the Maharal is telling us something unbelievable about marriage. And that is, the greatest marriages are the marriages in which you always remain curious, inquisitive. The moment you feel you have it, you know everything, there's no surprises, it's already something is missing. The uniqueness of Esther was, he never felt, Yet tznius brings it out. Yeah, always brings it out because it's like there's secrets. Huh? There's still surprises. Yeah, and yeah, it's like, and also you don't own the person. You don't own the person. So that's what Maral says. Lo hoya like kinyan ba. He never had a kinyan in her. I got you. I know you. No. It's nut. Tam psula tam. He could be Toyim. Ratza bikesh litim tam psula tam. Tam ba'ula tam. And then he adds, and that's why it says by Torah, v'hoyu advarim ha'ela shar noichim etzavcha hayoim. So Rashi says, b'chol yoim yiyu beinecha chadashim. Every day it should be new. What do you mean every day it's new? I'm learning this already for 45 years. He says, no. Bikesh litim tam psula tam. When you don't feel you have a kinyan in Torah, every day it's a psula. It's a new girl. Torah tziva lanu Moshe Murasha. Torah is the kala of Klal Yisrael. There's the element of tam ba'ula. It's familiar. I know it already. We're doing chazar, but there's the element of Torah. It's completely new. I never saw you. I never met you. I never had intimacy with this Torah. What do you mean? You learned it already 100 times. You were with Esther for years. No. She remains a psula. The Torah remains a psula. It's a fresh reality. Why? I don't feel I own it. I never feel I got it. I'm always open to new. I'm always open to surprises. I'm always curious. I'm always inquisitive. I never close the lid on my experience of the relationships. Like, this is who you are. I put you in a box. This is who my wife is. This is who my husband is. This is who the Torah is. No. Judaism is always surprising you. You're always open to a new dimension of God, a new dimension of Torah. Beautiful, huh? Nice, huh? You look at the Gemara, it looks like, it's a little bit of distasteful. Like, really, Chazal didn't have anything better to say to us about Achashverosh. So you say, what do you want from them? The Megillah says it. But the point is, like everything, it exists on many layers. It exists on a very basic Persian Achashverosh layer. Nothing against Persians. I'm talking about Achashverosh, who had obviously a very special appetite for women, as we can see from the story. That's on one level. But like everything, it's on a much deeper level, because this was written Beruach HaKodesh. So there's something very powerful about this. He never had a kinyan in her.
How did she physically do that?
And for men, it's a very special feeling. When the woman, when you don't feel like you have everything, there's a part that's off limits, and there's a newness. It's very special. That's the value of Taras HaMashpacha. The value of Nida, of Taras HaMashpacha, people think it's 2 weeks you can't do what you want. No. It's a hischachos. It's like a new marriage. The Gemara says, L'chavaval baila. It's like the night of the wedding. What's the uniqueness? It's a new mitzias. I don't know you. I'm in for a surprise. The concept of distance means that you don't belong to me. There's always a newness. There's a part that's off limits. If there's a part that's off limits, there's always an element of freshness. And generally, when the woman keeps a certain part private, it's the confidentiality, it's the modesty that actually intrigues a man in a very powerful way.
Keep it interesting.
Right. It's very fascinating. I mean, this line of Gemara is very deep. Huh? As was? What Reb Chizda told his daughters. Yeah. Okay. Let's learn for another 4 minutes. Beseder? 4 minutes. Why 4? Sounds better than 5. You know when they write on the package $4.99? Why don't they write 5? Sounds better. Says the Gemara, Vayas HaMelech Mishta Gadol. Which daf? Yud Gimel Amud Aleph, all the way on the bottom, 4 lines from the bottom. Vayas HaMelech Mishta Gadol. He loves her, he makes her the queen, and he makes a huge party. And what happens at this party? It says, Hanachal HaMedinas, he gives a discount, a tax discount. And Vayitein Masis Kiyad HaMelech, he sends gifts. So the Gemara says, this comes after the Megillah tells us that Esther never told Achashverosh or anybody where she comes from, right? Her nation. So the Gemara says, Avad Mishtaya. He made a party for Esther, Mishta Esther, V'loi Galyale. She still would not tell him where she came from. As the pasuk says, after the party, Ein Esther Magedah. She still wouldn't tell. Dali Karga. He took away taxes. He made a discount of taxes. Dole karga means he remitted the het tax on everyone there was a het tax because of her. Like Galilei, she still didn't reveal her origins. Shadar pardishne. He sent gifts to important people in her name. Basically, he was glorifying her and giving her this honor. Look at this feast. Look at the tax discount. And everyone is giving her credit. And she should now feel in debt to the king and tell him whatever she wants. She didn't reveal origins. The party didn't help. The taxes discount didn't help. And the gifts didn't help.
He really didn't know her.
Huh? He really didn't own her. You see why he comes here? That's why she remained a psula. This girl did not sell herself to her husband. The mystery remained. And maybe that's what helped her remain a psula. Like, who are you? I don't even know who you are. Like, I don't even know if your real name is Esther. You know, Hadassah, Esther, Hadassah. Right. I don't even know who you are. It's a famous expression. The only thing we knew about Harry was that it wasn't his name. Pretty deep. The only thing we knew about Harry is that it wasn't his name. That's all you know. That's what he knew about Esther. All I know about you is that I don't know you. But you know what? That's pretty deep knowledge. Because the worst is if you think you do know me. He knew that he doesn't know her. And that freaked him out and it probably made him very, very curious and mysterious. Uvi kovitz psulas shenis. The pasuk says, we gathered girls a second time and Mordechai is sitting in the gate of the king. I don't know, you have a queen. Why are you now gathering new girls? We covered psulas. And in the same pasuk it says Mordechai is there. So the Gemara says, Azil shakal eitzam and Mordechai. He went to get advice from Mordechai. How do I find out who this girl is? You know, Mordechai is like playing dumb. You know, I took her from the streets. He said, how do I find out? Amma, you know what Mordechai says? Ein isha miskana ella b'yerech chaverta. A woman is not made jealous except through intimacy with another woman. Literally, it means she only gets jealous through the thigh of her fellow woman. What does this mean? What does this mean? The only way she gets jealous is if her husband takes another woman. She gets very jealous. So basically, Achashverosh, it's time to take other girls. She'll take other girls. She'll feel that she'll feel jealous, and then you'll get her to do what you want. Now, what was Mordechai really thinking? He wanted she should find another woman and let Esther go. That's what he wanted. This was his brilliance. She was taken. She did it. She wanted to be in Achashverosh's palace halachin cup. She wasn't interested. So Mordechai is the one who told her not to say, and now he's giving Achashverosh advice. Yeah, he wanted to hopefully find up another girl, maybe with not such a greenish complexion, and Esther will be free. Esther will be free. Huh? What? Also remember, Esther was married to Mordechai, so she wouldn't be jealous if Achashverosh takes another wife, because she actually had a husband. It's not her husband taking another wife, it's her fake husband taking a second wife. Achashverosh didn't know this. So that's also you have to understand. Still, she would not tell Achashverosh anything, and that's why the next pasuk says the Ksiv ein Esther Magadis Malat. Right after this, he gathered girls again, and Mordechai was at the gate because Mordechai gave him the advice, and she still would not say anything else. Have a wonderful day. That was 3 minutes, by the way.
Can you say over the Rabbi one more time? I want to be able to say it right.
Yes. The Rogatchover asks a question. It says that when Yocheved hid Moshe in the basket, so it says she put him basuf al svas hayaor. Yocheved took the basket. The mother probably. Miriam stood there to watch, but the mother did it. Right? So Suf is like the marsh at the bank. Svas is not in the river. Svas is the edge of the river, the bank of the river. So it's like the reeds. There's some mud over there, some bushes, some shrubs. It's watery, probably. It's like marsh, but it's not in the air. It's on the side. It wasn't floating and swimming in the river. Keif Nara. When it says that Batya came down and she discovered the basket, right? So the Targum Onkelos translates that it was in the river. So the Rogatchover says, what happened? And his answer is, a Jew is not allowed to have a no from Avodah Zarah, even though he was a baby, an infant. But his mother wouldn't put him in the Ya'ar because it was an Avodah Zarah, because the Egyptians would worship the Nile Delta. So she put him at the bank of the river. Once Batya, yeah, we're done. Once Batya came to bathe in the river, and Rabbi Yochanan said, why did she bathe? She got rid of the Avodah Zarah of her father, so she was mevatel the Avodah Zarah. She was mevatel Avodah Zarah. She turned it into a joke. She says, I need a mikveh from this Avodah Zarah. On the contrary, it became a tool for gear, for transformation. So Ois Avodah Zarah, no Avodah Zarah anymore. So the basket could float in the river. In the beginning, Tzipor Yocheved had to put it on the bank of the river. But once she was mevatel Avodah Zarah, now they could go into the river. Tzafnas Paneach ala Torah Parsha Shmois Rabbeinu Yosef Rosen, the Rogatchover Gon Sarah Torah, whose yahrzeit is Yud Aleph Adar Tov Reish Tzadik Vov. Tainus Esther Mukdam, 1936.
He was a Lubavitch, right?
The Rogatchover. That's from the Better Kept Secrets.
I know a friend of mine gave me a sefer on his life and said he was Lubavitch.
He was very close, very, very close. Yeah. But that's about tefillah. Children?
We don't that we know. They were married, I don't know how long.
Yeah. We don't know of a child. We'll soon see we'll learn tomorrow about going from Achashverosh to Mordechai. From Achashverosh there's a child, Daryavish. Daryavish. For Mordechai we don't know a child.
I don't know how many years they were.
Yeah. Can I trouble you for the tefillin if you don't mind?